10 Revolvers You Should Never Sell in 2025. There's a specific kind of regret that only gun owners understand. It doesn't hit you at the counter. It doesn't hit you when you pocket the cash. It hits you 3 months later, when you reach into your safe and your hand closes around empty space where something irreplaceable used to sit. And by then, it's too late. The price has doubled. The model's been discontinued, and you're left scrolling auction sites at midnight trying to buy back what you never should have let go. Today, I'm walking you through 10 revolvers that, if they're sitting in your collection right now, you need to lock that safe and lose the key. Because the market is shifting, production runs are ending, and once these are gone from your hands, getting them back is going to cost you dearly. We're counting down from number 10, and I promise you, the closer we get to number 1, the more you're going to want to check your safe. Let's get into it. Number 10. Ruger Redhawk 357 Magnum. Let's start with a revolver that was never designed to be elegant. When Ruger introduced the Redhawk back in 1979, they weren't trying to win any beauty pageants. They were engineering a tank disguised as a handgun. This thing tips the scales at nearly 3 pounds unloaded, which sounds absurd until you actually fire it. Every single ounce of that weight works for you, soaking up recoil from the hottest Magnum loads you can feed it. Law enforcement agencies in the late 70s and early 80s needed a wheel gun that could eat a steady diet of full-power 357 without developing the timing issues that plagued thinner-framed competitors. The Redhawk answered that call and then some. Its cylinder and frame are so overbuilt that the word indestructible gets thrown around without exaggeration. You can field strip it without tools, the grip frame fits virtually any hand size, and here's the part that matters most in 2025. Resale values on these are consistently climbing above original retail. Used models are trading between $650 and $850, and new stainless versions are pushing $1,000. That trajectory isn't reversing. The downside? It's heavy. Holster options are limited. The trigger pull can challenge smaller hands. But nobody buys a Redhawk for convenience. You buy it because you want something that will outlast you, your children, and probably their children too. Number 9. Taurus Model 66. 357 Magnum. Now here's where things get interesting, because this next revolver has been criminally underestimated for decades. The Taurus Model 66 came out of Brazil in the early 1980s, and from the moment it landed on American shores, it faced an uphill battle against brand snobbery. People dismissed it because of where it was made. Meanwhile, the gun itself was quietly outperforming revolvers that cost twice as much. Taurus didn't just clone existing designs, they actually innovated. Full-length underbarrel ejector rod housings when competitors were leaving rods exposed. Transfer bar safety systems when others were still relying on outdated hammer blocks. The frame and cylinder were forged steel, purpose-built for Magnum pressures, not some .38 frame that got bored out and hoped for the best. The trigger comes smooth right out of the box, no gunsmith visit required, and Taurus actually honors their lifetime warranty on these older models. You can find clean examples between $400 and $600 right now, with premium variants touching $700. Those prices represent one of the biggest bargains in the revolver market today. Parts availability on older models can be tricky, and yes, finish quality varied between production runs. But as a shooting tool, the Model 66 punches so far above its weight class that when the market finally catches on, and it will, you'll wish you'd bought two. Number 8. Dan Wesson Model 15 357 Magnum. Speaking of revolvers, the market hasn't fully figured out yet. Let me tell you about a gun that was built by a man whose last name literally defined American firearms history. The Dan Wesson Model 15 launched in 1971 from a company founded by the great-grandson of Daniel Baird Wesson himself. And this wasn't some legacy cash grab. This was a genuine obsession with building the most accurate production revolver ever manufactured. What set the Model 15 apart was its interchangeable barrel system. You could swap barrel lengths and shroud configurations, effectively owning multiple revolvers in a single frame. Every unit was hand-fitted, headspace to perfection, and test-fired before it left the factory. The barrel nut system eliminated play between barrel and frame completely, which is why these guns shoot with near-custom precision straight out of the box. The trigger breaks like glass. Standard. Not upgraded. Standard. Current prices sit between $600 and $900 for common configurations, with rare barrel combinations pushing $1,200. The Dan Wesson Company went through financial turbulence over the years, which actually makes surviving examples more collectible, not less. The complexity of the barrel system intimidates some buyers, which is precisely why these remain undervalued. That window is closing. Number 7. Colt Detective Special 38 Special. Now we're stepping into genuine American legend territory. The Colt Detective Special first appeared in 1927, and for the next 6 decades, it essentially owned the concealed carry revolver market. This wasn't just a snub nose, this was the snub nose. From Prohibition-era plainclothes officers to Cold War private investigators, if your life depended on a compact revolver that wouldn't let you down, you carried a Detective Special. Colt took their proven police-positive action and trimmed the barrel down to 2 inches without sacrificing an ounce of reliability. The all-steel construction absorbs recoil far better than the lightweight alternatives that came later, and the classic Colt lockwork provides an action smoothness that modern revolvers still struggle to match. Early models now command serious collector money. Standard variants trade between $800 and $1,500, but first-generation examples, you're looking at $1,800 to $2,500, and those numbers keep rising. Parts availability has shrunk since Colt discontinued production, and the 5-shot capacity on early models feels limiting by modern standards. But as both a functional firearm and a historical artifact, the Detective Special occupies a space that nothing else can fill. If one's sitting in your safe, it stays there. Number 6. Charter Arms, Bulldog 44. Special. Here's a revolver that asked a question nobody else had the guts to ask. What happens when you cram a 44 Special into the smallest possible package? Charter Arms found out in 1973, and the answer was the Bulldog, a chunky, no-nonsense powerhouse that looked like a cartoon revolver brought to life but hit like a freight train. While the rest of the industry obsessed over 38 Specials and 357 Magnums, the Bulldog carved out its own niche with devastating 44 Special stopping power in a genuinely concealable size. It even became a movie star, showing up in Taxi Driver and cementing its place in pop culture. Standard models currently trade between $400 and $650, with early production examples and special editions reaching $900. The 5-shot capacity and stout recoil aren't for everyone, but the Bulldog was never trying to be for everyone. It was built for people who understood that sometimes the best argument is the biggest bullet in the smallest package. Number 5. Colt Trooper, .357 Magnum. This is the revolver that brought Magnum power to the working class. When the Trooper debuted in 1953, the .357 Magnum was still something exotic, a round reserved for expensive, exclusive handguns. The Trooper changed that equation overnight, delivering the same power at a price that ordinary people could actually afford. And Colt didn't cut corners to hit that price point. The Trooper featured their iconic action, exceptional balance, and the kind of reliability that made it the duty weapon for countless law enforcement agencies through the 60s and 70s. Good condition examples trade between $850 and $1,400 today, with early production models pushing $2,000. Here's what collectors are starting to notice. The price gap between Troopers and Pythons is shrinking fast. Later models did suffer from some quality control inconsistencies, and parts are getting harder to source. But as the market recognizes the Trooper's historical significance, and it is recognizing it, these workhorses are finally getting the respect they've always deserved. Number 4. Smith & Wesson Model 28, Highway Patrolman. If the Trooper was the working man's Magnum, the Highway Patrolman was the working cop's Magnum. Introduced in 1954, the Model 28 was essentially Smith & Wesson's premium Model 27 with all the jewelry stripped off, same end-frame strength, same accuracy, same ability to digest unlimited Magnum rounds without loosening up, just without the polished finish and deluxe features that drove the price up. And honestly, the utilitarian finish actually wears better than polished bluing in real-world conditions. The fixed sights eliminate the most common failure point on service revolvers. The double-action trigger starts smooth and only improves with use. Standard models trade between $600 and $900, with exceptional examples touching $1,200. The market frequently overlooks these in favor of flashier alternatives, which is exactly why they represent outstanding value right now. Number 3. Ruger Blackhawk, .45. Colt. The Blackhawk didn't just honor single-action revolvers, it made them relevant again for the modern era. Built with contemporary metallurgy, heat treatment, and manufacturing precision that vintage Colt simply cannot match, the .45 Colt Blackhawk brought the classic cowboy cartridge screaming into the 20th century. You can feed it mild target loads for an afternoon of relaxed shooting, or you can push it with hand loads at Magnum-level pressures that would turn an antique single-action army into shrapnel. The Blackhawk just absorbs it all. Cowboys carry them. Hunters have taken everything from small game to dangerous game with them. Competitive shooters clean up matches with them. Standard models trade between $600 and $900, with custom variants and special editions commanding $1,500. The single-action-only mechanism and individual cartridge loading won't satisfy everyone, but for those who appreciate what this revolver represents, there is no substitute. Number 2. Smith & Wesson Model 19 Combat Magnum. We're in the top 2 now, and the Model 19 earned this spot by achieving something most firearms designers consider impossible: the perfect balance between power and portability. The K-frame handles like it was born in your hand. It points naturally, carries comfortably through a full shift, and still chambers full-power .357 loads capable of ending any serious threat. The FBI adopted it. Highway patrol agencies across the country issued it. Competitive shooters chose it for its quick handling and inherent accuracy. Yes, heavy sustained Magnum use can eventually stress the forcing cone, a known limitation of putting this much power through a medium frame. But before that becomes an issue, you'll put thousands of rounds downrange. Standard models currently trade between $800 and $1,200, with the coveted pinned and recessed cylinder versions commanding $1,400 to $1,800. Those prices have risen dramatically in recent years, and the trajectory shows no sign of flattening. Number 1. Colt Python .357 Magnum. And here we are. If you've been watching this far, you probably already knew this was coming, but knowing it's coming doesn't diminish the truth of it. The Python earned the top spot not through marketing or nostalgia, but through pure, undeniable performance. It routinely outshot revolvers costing twice as much. The ventilated rib wasn't decoration. It dissipated heat and reduced barrel mirage for faster follow-up shots. The full underlug stabilized the barrel and perfected the balance. And that trigger, silk in double action, breaking glass in single, remains the standard against which every production revolver is measured. When Colt discontinued it in 2005, prices exploded. When they reintroduced it in 2020, collectors bought them faster than the factory could produce them. Used examples start at $1,500 and climb past $3,000 for pristine vintage models. New production pieces retail between $1,800 and $2,000 when you can find them. The Python appreciates in value faster than almost anything else in your safe. Counterfeits and refinished guns do circulate, so authentication matters. But if you own a genuine Python, you own the single most iconic revolver in American firearms history. Selling it would be the kind of mistake that haunts you forever. So there you have it. 10 revolvers that deserve a permanent home in your collection. Every single one of these is climbing in value, shrinking in availability, or both. The market in 2025 is not the market we had 5 years ago, and 5 years from now, you'll look back at today's prices and wonder why you didn't buy more. If you've got any of these in your safe, hold on tight. And if you've ever made the mistake of letting one go, drop that story in the comments, because we've all been there, and sometimes sharing the pain is the only therapy that works. That's it for today, folks. See you in the next video.